Hello and welcome to Cooking with Anand. Today we're going to be making an easy fruit dessert, and this is a different variation of the dessert Ann Reardon made on how to cook that. She called it an easy fruit dessert, so go check that out. But the one I'm making today is a graham cracker version. So let's get to it. Down here I have half a cup of whipped heavy whipping cream. So I took half a cup of heavy whipping cream and I whipped it until it became soft peaks. And that takes from 5 to 6 minutes if you're whipping it by hand like I was, but if you have a KitchenAid or an electronic mixer, that won't take as long. If you're too lazy to do that, you can also take 1 cup of Cool Whip from the store and take 1 cup of that, and that'll work fine, but make sure you thaw it. And you should reduce the sugar amount by 2 tablespoons if you use pre-made Cool Whip, because that already has sugar in it. So in the dessert there are 4 different components to it. You have the fresh fruit on top, the graham cracker biscuit that I'm going to make, then you have the fresh fruit sauce at the bottom, and you have a cheesecake cream at the base. And this has no eggs in it, so you don't have to be worried about salmonella and all that stuff. First, I'm going to put 2 8-ounce packages of softened cream cheese into a bowl. And this needs to be extra soft, more soft than if you were to be making cheesecake. And I'm also going to add 1/3 of a cup of sour cream, and I'm going to cream those together. When you're creaming the cream cheese and the sour cream together, the way you want to do it is by kind of folding it on top and smashing it down. And that's the best way to get rid of all the lumps. Okay, once you got it nice and creamy and the lumps are very small, add in your half cup of sugar. And keep on stirring until the sugar is completely combined. Once your sugar has been completely combined, add 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla and the juice of half of a lime, and stir that in. As you can tell, this recipe is very similar to that of a no-bake cheesecake, and it is really fast and easy to make, so it works out well. I've stirred in a dash of salt because salt enhances the flavor of everything and anything, and it really makes the tangy sour cream and the cream cheese kind of pop, and it balances out the flavors a bit of the vanilla and the lemon juice. So now I've got everything very thoroughly combined together and it's nice and creamy. I'm going to add in the cream that we whipped up, or the Cool Whip if you're using that. And you want to get all of it in there. And this will make it nice and light and airy without having to bake it. So that's good, and it'll also add another level of depth in the cheesecake batter, kind of a foamy, airy level rather than everything being just very dense. Okay, I've folded in all of the whipped cream into the cream cheese, and you want to make sure that you keep all that air that we whipped into the cream, which means don't stir it to death because that will completely deflate all the bubbles that we whipped into the heavy cream. If you follow the recipe the way I made it, then it'll be slightly tangy, slightly sweet, and it'll be very, very rich and creamy. But if you wanted it a little bit more foamier, maybe you could add more whipped cream, or if you wanted it more dense, add less whipped cream, or add more sugar, or whatever you guys need to do. Now we're going to make the smooth raspberry strawberry sauce. I have a third of a cup of raspberries that I have put in the mini food processor, and try to use the raspberries that aren't as pretty as the other ones, because the pretty ones we'll use to put on top. Now I'm going to add in 8 medium-sized strawberries, and I got this cute little strawberry bowl and the huller that I used to hull them with from my great aunt, and her name is Bully Auntie, so thank you, Bully Auntie. Once your fruit has been completely pureed, it's a good idea to taste it and see if it needs a little bit more sweetness. The fruits I used were very tart, so I think I'm going to need to use a little bit more sugar, but it's just to taste. So if you like it more tart, then you go ahead and keep it the way it was. It's important to strain out all the seeds in the mix, because then it won't be smooth and nice and creamy with this cheesecake filling. So just push it through a sieve into a separate cup. We're back, and I've strained out all the seeds from the liquid, and this is our nice thick raspberry strawberry sauce. It's about 175 milliliters of sauce that I got from my recipe. And with these seeds that you've sieved out, you can use this as jelly. You can spread it on toast, and that's a good way to eat it. It's full of fiber, so I suggest you don't throw it away. You could just eat it by the spoonfuls. That's what I do, and it tastes pretty good. For the crust, you're going to need a food processor, because you need to chop the butter up into the dough into really small pieces. And make sure your butter is really cold. To start, in a food processor, I have 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of whole wheat flour and 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. And I also have a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now I'm going to add some sugar. It was 2.5 tablespoons of sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and 2 teaspoons of cornmeal. And the cornmeal really brings out the nuttiness of the flours, and it just makes it taste more like a graham cracker. Now I'm just going to pulse to combine these ingredients. Okay. The ingredients have been combined. Okay. Now I'm going to add in 1/4 cup of cold butter that I've cut up into pieces. And the butter needs to be really small. It needs to be incorporated into the flour really well. Unlike a pie dough where you want pea-sized pieces of butter, you want the butter to be almost so small you can't see it. I'm going to blend this until it reaches the stage I want it to be. So now I'm going to add the wet ingredients, which is 1 tablespoon of honey, and this will give it a nice flavor, and 1 tablespoon of milk as well. I'm also going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract into the dough to give it some nice flavor. As you can see, the dough looks really crumbly after I blended in those liquids, but you know it's ready when you can pick up some of it and squish it and it turns into a little dough ball. Okay, so now I'm going to take out my blade. Take this out, and you just want to form everything into a ball. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some balls and I'm going to squish them onto the baking sheet. And what I'm going to do is take a cup that's slightly larger than the dish I'm going to be serving it in and press around it. And that's an easy way to handle the dough, because transferring the dough is hard because the dough is very fragile and it rips real easily, and it's kind of a pain to roll because it's real sticky. So this is what I find to be the best way to do it. Now that I've rolled these into uniform little shapes, I'm going to put them in my preheated 350 degree oven. And they will bake there for 12 to 15 minutes. Rotate them 6 minutes through though. I'm preparing the fresh fruit and I'm fanning the strawberry, so I'm making lots of cuts down the center so when you open it you have all these little pretty rings. So how I'm going to start my assembly is I'm going to add a few spoons of the strawberry raspberry sauce into the container. And you can put a lot because we have a lot here, but make sure you space it out evenly between all your servings. And you want just enough to fill the bottom layer. Then what you do is you put a spoonful of the cheesecake into the thing, and it's best if you do this with 2 separate spoons so it can get it cleanly into the glass. I'm hulling my strawberries, and these are some extra strawberries for garnish on top. And this is the same huller that I had before, and I talked about my bully auntie gave it to me. And bully in Hindi means little. So it's a lot different from our American definition because she is the youngest sibling out of many. So that's why they call her bully auntie. And so now I'm going to cut these strawberries in half now that I've hulled them, and I'm going to cut them lengthwise too in quarters, and those will make it look real pretty on top. I'm going to top each of my cups with a little graham cracker cookie, the ones we made before, and if you want you can pipe the cheesecake filling in. That'll look really pretty, but I think it looks really rustic and nice the way it is. Now I'm going to assemble these fan strawberries on top, and I'm going to put some raspberries with it and some blackberries, and it's a very elegant dessert and it tastes phenomenal. It tastes just like a cheesecake, and the graham cracker resembles like the graham cracker crust, and as I like to call it, it's like a cheesecake in the 4th dimension. Don't forget to go check out Ann Reardon's version of this recipe. She made hers with chantilly cream and a shortbread biscuit. I'm ready to enjoy this dessert with my great family friends, the Mymans. And so the way you eat this dessert is you take your spoon and you put it in the middle and you crack the biscuit, and all the stuff happily falls inside the cup, and you can get all of the cream, the sauce, the fruit, and the biscuit all in one bite. Okay, just push it down right in the middle. Hopefully, right in the, that's why we have it on a plate. Real hard. Oh, you can do muscles, you got it. Out.
Yeah.
There you go. That was much better.
Good job.
Okay.
Give her a thumbs up. And enjoy.
A perfect dessert to finish off the day. So for spring break this year, I am traveling and I've gone to my aunt's house in Baltimore. And I have made the fruit dessert at her house.